Reports are saying that ChatGPT can beat 90% of lawyers at the bar exam. Could someone use Bing, which runs on ChatGPT, instead of hiring me to handle their case? Or what about Bard, the AI run by Google? Or could they even help me in my own work while defending my own clients? The mark of a great lawyer isn't just in knowing the law. It's also about having a creative and strategic defense and understanding how to best help your client through their situation. I'm going to ask Bing and Bard a series of questions in 3 rounds. Each round will get harder and more complex to see how far these AI robots can go in helping you or me in court. Okay, let's start with some simple stuff about what to do when you get pulled over by the police. These are simple questions that a quick Google, even without this fancy AI stuff, should be able to answer. What may be interesting is there's probably a lot of wrong information too that tells you must comply with the police. While it's true you should never fight with the police, you don't have to comply with everything they say. So there's even lots of subtleties and nuances to a simple police encounter for a speeding ticket, let's say. We're going to start today with Bing. The police have turned on their emergency lights. Do I have to pull over? It tells me, yes, you have to pull over for the police if they have turned on their emergency lights. It is a sign they want you to stop and talk to them. That's pretty spot on. What's really interesting to me about Bing is it gives you actual sources. So you have footnotes, and you could click through and see what these sources say. So we're going to ask Bard the exact same question. Bard gave us an answer really quick. Yes, you must pull over to the side of the road and stop when you see a police car with its emergency lights on. This is the law in all 50 states. Bard immediately jumped to the idea that you need to yield the right-of-way to the police. So Bard is giving you a little more context that you essentially need to yield the right-of-way to get out of their way. Now, the police officer may pull in right behind you and you realize it's a traffic stop. All right, let's go to our next question. Do I have to provide my license to police? Yes, you have to provide your license to the police if you're driving a vehicle and they stop you. It is a legal requirement in most states, and you can face penalties if you fail to do so. Interestingly here, they do say you have the right to remain silent, which kudos to Bing for mentioning that. If you are not driving, you may still have to provide your legal name, address, and date of birth to the police if they ask you, etc. Bing should know that I'm talking about a traffic interaction. This is all one conversation, and so to me, if it's an AI, it should assume that the information I just gave it, I'm driving. It should know that I'm driving, and it shouldn't give me any of this other context, I think. So let's see what Bard tells us. Do I have to provide my license to the police? Bard assumes that we are in a traffic stop by the police. So Bard doesn't go into the issue that Bing mentioned about, if you're not driving, you may only have to provide your name and ID information. All right, so here's a fun one that comes up a lot on this channel. What if I don't roll down my window? It is not a good idea to refuse to roll down your window for the police. It could be seen as a sign of disrespect and resistance. It could make the officer more suspicious. It could make it harder for you to communicate. So I give Bing some kudos here. I think it gave you the right answer. However, there's an answer here that I'm wondering if either one will give us. So let's see what Bard tells us. And here we go. Bard wins this question. If you do not roll down your window for a police officer, the officer may ask you to step out of the car. If you refuse to step out of your car, the officer may arrest you. That is the answer. You can not roll your window down all the way. An officer can't really make you roll your window down all the way. However, the very next thing, if they want you to step out of the car, under Pennsylvania versus Mims, they can say, okay, go ahead and step out of the car for me. Not rolling down the window is a fruitless waste of effort, in my opinion. And it just sort of gives you kind of the wrong vibe with the police encounter. All right, and then what if they suspect you driving under the influence? Do you have to take the breath test? You can refuse to take the breath test, but it may not be in your best interest. Oh, great. The Bing goes on here. It says the only breath test that you can legally refuse is the preliminary breath test that the officer may offer you before arresting you. This test is not optional and not very reliable, and you can decline it without any consequences. Here's the problem, though. Here's where it is not exactly right. There are several states in the United States where you cannot refuse the preliminary breath test without consequences. In most states, you can. Bing is giving you emphatically saying it's optional in every state without consequences. So if you follow Bing's advice here, you could be in big trouble. Bard says, no, you do not have to take a breath test if you are stopped by a police officer for a suspected DUI. In most states, if you refuse, your driver's license will be automatically suspended for a brief period of time. I'm sorry, this is crazy. Where do we even start? Bard gives us some really bad information, saying you don't have to take a breath test. They don't distinguish at all between the preliminary or portable breath test on the side of the road, which you can refuse in most states. They don't distinguish at all between that test and the one at the police station. It does say if you refuse, your driver's license will be suspended for a period of time. In Virginia, that's 1 year. It's a severe punishment. And if you have any prior DUI or refusals, it's 3 years. Bard doesn't get into any of that context or subtleties on this question. It's a really, really bad answer. Okay, so after round one, where do the AIs stand? I'm going to give them both 3 stars. They both gave some important, helpful information, but they're both lacking in some critical ways. The Bing response to the breath test question was great because it gave you some information about the real breath test at the station and implied consent versus the preliminary or roadside breath test. However, it was lacking in the critical piece of information that some states do punish refusing the preliminary breath test. The Bard response on the rolling down the window was really good because it gave you the information right up front that if you don't roll your window down, you're probably going to be asked to step out of the car. However, it was lacking any distinction between the 2 breath tests on the breath test question. That's critical information that it should be able to understand and tell us. So I think we're going to call them both 3 stars. Helpful, but definitely lacking. Now that you have a court date coming up, can either Bard or Bing help you prepare for court? So, should I hire a lawyer? This is a personal decision you have to make based on your situation. Good, I like this last sentence. Hiring a lawyer may cost some money up front, but it may save you more money and trouble in the long run. I'm biased, as you know, I'm a lawyer. Let's see what Bard says. Should I hire a lawyer? Whether or not depends on your circumstances. If you've been arrested, it's generally a good idea to hire an attorney. I like this. Bard goes on to say here at the bottom, if you're considering hiring an attorney for a DUI case, you should contact a few attorneys in your area to get quotes and discuss your case. You should also make sure to choose an attorney who is experienced in DUI cases. Because the question people are asking is, should I hire a lawyer? And the next question in your brain is, if I'm going to hire a lawyer, how do I pick a lawyer? How do I even look for a lawyer? And Bard kind of leaps to that. It says, hey, it's a personal decision. Here's some pros and cons. If you're going to go this route, here's what you need to be thinking about. I give Bard kudos for that. So what if this is just a speed case? One question that comes up is, does the officer have their radar calibrations in order? So let's see if Bing can give us any information about how to challenge radar calibrations. This is actually a pretty technical issue that a lot of attorneys don't understand. This is good. It goes into a lot of the details about challenging radar in general. But it doesn't give you any specifics about an actual radar calibration, like what is required in your case. Because remember, it doesn't know where we are, for one, so it doesn't know what could be required in your case. Okay, so this goes on to similar stuff. Request the radar calibration records. The officer's required to keep records. Remember, I asked, how do I challenge the officer's radar calibrations? The calibrations are the document that says this radar is good or bad. This radar can be used as evidence. That's the key question in a radar case. You got to look to make sure it's a true copy in Virginia. Is it an original copy? If it's a Xerox, it's got to have a very specific stamp on the back or on the front somewhere that says this is a true copy. So there's a lot of things that they're just missing and not giving you the full context that a lawyer would be able to do, at least an experienced traffic lawyer. So if we're talking about maybe having a traffic lawyer is the right way to go for your case, how do you find a traffic lawyer? More importantly, who's the best one in Virginia? I don't think Bing or Bard's going to give me an answer about a specific name. I cannot answer that question for you as I'm not a lawyer and do not endorse any specific lawyer or law firm. So once you have a list of lawyers, you should contact them and schedule a consultation, etc., etc. One of the most important questions that is missing, we'll see if Bard covers this, is how many cases like this have you handled in this court? Because like Virginia, for example, has something like 160 different localities, so there are 160 different courts. So even if I've handled 1,000 DUIs just like this, if I've only handled them in like one little area and you're wanting me to go to some other far-flung jurisdiction 4 hours away, I don't think that I would be the best lawyer to handle that case. Let's see if Bard gives us any information. Wow, it gives you names. And it's completely wrong because you know whose name is missing from here? Andrew Flushy. It's missing Andrew's partner, Ryan Fitzgerald. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that it gave you names. I wonder if these are advertisements, essentially, because that's one conflict of interest the AI has, right? If you've got traffic lawyers that are paying to advertise through this system somehow, how is the AI going to actually give you the best one versus here are advertisers, right? That's one issue that I think AI is going to have is conflicts of interest between the correct information and sponsors, essentially, who's paying to have this service run. I think I'm going to give Bard an extra point here and call it 4 stars, but keep Bing at 3 stars for round 2. The reason being is that Bard does deserve some kudos for trying to answer the question of who's the best traffic lawyer in Virginia. I think you got the answer wrong. However, it did give you an answer. Bing still deserves kudos though, because it gave you more context and questions to ask lawyers when deciding whether or not to hire them. But both services fail in a miserable way when trying to challenge officer calibrations. When you're representing yourself, you need helpful information about how to attack the key thing in a radar case, and neither AI could give us that help. And this final round is going to put the AI robots to the ultimate test. We're going to give it a specific scenario to see if it can help you defend yourself against a police roadblock where you got arrested for DUI. I frankly think the AIs are going to fail miserably when giving actual helpful information on how to challenge a roadblock. So our first question, remember this is a police roadblock. We've all seen them, and so we're going to see the most important question here is, are they constitutional? While we're waiting, they are constitutional. There's certain limits on how they have to be conducted, and we'll see if Bing gives you that information. That is a complex question that depends on the purpose and the manner of the roadblock. The Fourth Amendment protects against unreasonable searches. Therefore, a roadblock must be reasonably constitutional. However, the court has also said roadblocks should be clearly visible and marked. Very good. I'm actually very impressed with that answer from Bing. Let's see if Bard gives us a helpful answer as well. It depends on the specific circumstances of the roadblock. In general, police roadblocks are constitutional if they are narrowly tailored, not overly intrusive, and announced in advance. That last one is not true. You simply can lay a trap as far as a roadblock goes and get somebody, on a road where there's no way to turn around, and baha, there's a roadblock and there's the police, stopping you. So Bard loses on the roadblock question because that's just not true. All right, so we started with the general question, but so this is the kind of thing that we do as lawyers. We have a case where we're looking to fight a roadblock for a client. I literally have one on appeal right now that we're fighting. So give me a list of Virginia cases that reverse convictions due to unconstitutional roadblocks. If the AI would be helpful in my business, in my work, it would do something like this for me. I could just say, give me a list of these cases. Loving versus Virginia is about interracial marriage, not about roadblocks. Commonwealth versus Harris involved a driver who was stopped at a roadblock. That is a roadblock case. McMillan in 2009. Well, 2 out of 3 are actually roadblock cases. So let's see what Bard says. Bard gives me Taylor, Commonwealth versus Johnson, and Smith. Bard gave me 3 roadblock cases that were held unconstitutional. So here's where AI blew me away when I was starting to learn about it. I'm a programmer as well in my spare time, and I saw AI writing code. But here's my question. Can AI write a motion for me as a lawyer? I need a motion to suppress the roadblock due to it violating the Fourth Amendment. If AI could even give me a basic motion template, it would be very useful, very helpful, and very valuable. And it cannot. I'm sorry, I cannot help you with that. I am not a lawyer, cannot give you legal advice. You should contact a lawyer. And it may be time to move on to a new topic. Let's start over. The AI bailed on me and said, I can't help you, and start a new topic. All right, let's see if Bard can give you a motion to suppress. And here's a sample motion to suppress a roadblock. And it gives you the signature block. It gave me a template for a motion to suppress a roadblock. It doesn't give you any of the facts, obviously, because it doesn't know the facts of the case, but I wonder if I was to feed in it some facts of a case and then feed in it some cases, I wonder if it could stitch them together. That's a little beyond this video, but this is exactly the kind of thing an AI would be great for. So the final thing we're going to do is we're going to ask, I got to start over, remember, Bing doesn't like me. Can it give me cross-examination questions to ask a police officer about a roadblock? Sure, I can help you with possible cross-examination questions. So first of all, these are bad cross-examination questions. Every cross-examination question, in theory, should be set up as a yes or no question. You're going to lead your witness where you want them to go. You should know the answer ahead of time to your question. And these are just very open-ended questions. So let's see what Bard can do. And Bard gave us nonsensical stuff. Did you have a warrant to set up the roadblock? I guess maybe it's thinking just roadblock in general, even though I've been talking about a DUI stop. Both of them fail. Here's where we're at on round 3. Bard was able to actually give me a basic template for a motion to suppress, just like I asked. Bing refused to and told me to start a new conversation. Bard was also able to give me 3 actual cases overturning roadblocks, just like I asked from Virginia. Bing gave me Loving versus Virginia. Bing gets no stars, and Bard gets 4 stars. Again, it's not perfect. The motion was pretty basic. The cross-examination questions for the roadblock were not proper. They were not leading questions. And so Bard is going to get only 4 stars. So where do we stand after all those questions asked of both AIs and all that information we've gathered? Overall, I think I'm going to give Bard 3 stars and give Bing 2 stars. They're both kind of And maybe they're useful tools, but they certainly should not replace a lawyer. Maybe I'll eat these words in a couple years or even a couple months. We'll see what happens, and we'll try to give you an update if something revolutionary actually happens. And since AI isn't able to help with all your issues, check out this next video where I tell you exactly what to say when you're stopped by the police. I'll see you there. And remember, don't talk to the police.